When I first bought my house on Sycamore Lane, I thought I had finally made it. Willow Creek Estates was everything I had dreamed of. Clean, safe, beautiful. Kids rode their bikes without fear. The lawns were manicured within an inch of their lives, and the houses gleamed under the sun like teeth in a toothpaste commercial. I was proud of my new start. I imagined nights grilling in the backyard, waving to neighbors over the hedge, growing old, surrounded by friendly faces. I hadn't counted on Cheryl Davenport. Cheryl was the self-proclaimed queen of Willow Creek, and as president of the HOA, she wielded more power than the mayor. She wasn't just strict, she was obsessed. Every rule, every regulation, every petty clause was enforced with the fervor of a zealot. From the first day, she marked me as a problem. Maybe it was because I drove a beat-up Honda instead of a sleek SUV. Maybe because I didn't immediately install shutters in the exact approved colonial style. Or maybe she just needed a new enemy. Whatever the reason, Cheryl Davenport made it her personal mission to ruin me. It started with letters, neatly folded notes tucked under my windshield wipers, listing my infractions in painstaking detail. Grass exceeds regulation height by 1.5 inches. Trash can visible from the street for 12 minutes past collection. Unauthorized garden gnome detected on front porch. The notes grew harsher over time, shifting from reminders to threats. If I didn't correct my non-conformities, Cheryl warned, I could face steep HOA fines or even legal action. I tried to laugh it off. I joked to friends about living under a suburban dictatorship. But the pressure wore on me. Mowing the lawn became a nerve-wracking performance, knowing Cheryl was watching from behind her pristine curtains. Taking out the trash felt like sneaking through enemy territory. My dream of home ownership curdled into a constant state of anxiety. Other neighbors, cowed, silent, offered tight smiles, but no help. Cheryl had ruled over Willow Creek for years, and no one dared challenge her. The annual Willow Creek picnic loomed large on the community calendar. Attendance was mandatory. Strongly encouraged was Cheryl's way of saying, "Show up or suffer." It was a tradition drenched in passive aggression. Fake smiles, forced small talk, judged potluck contributions. Cheryl orchestrated every detail with a dictator's precision, from the color-coded seating chart to the list of acceptable foods, no homemade dishes from non-approved kitchens. I had no interest in spending a Saturday kissing the ring, but skipping wasn't an option. So I dusted off an old family recipe for pasta salad, made sure every ingredient was organic and regulation approved, and trudged to the park with my Tupperware container clutched like a shield. Maybe if I kept my head down, I could survive a few miserable hours and go home unscathed. The park was festooned with balloons in muted HOA-approved colors. Navy, beige, hunter green. Tables sagged under the weight of catered, neighborhood-approved dishes. Bland casseroles, dry chicken skewers, iceberg lettuce salads. Cheryl floated among the guests like a queen surveying her subjects, beaming her tight crocodile smile, clipboard in hand. Her husband Martin trailed behind her, a human afterthought. I found a table near the edge of the crowd, nodded politely to my neighbors, and spooned a token portion of food onto my plate. As I sat down, Cheryl appeared at my elbow, grinning wider than ever. "Evan Blake," she sang out, voice syrupy sweet. "I'm so glad you made it. We were just talking about community spirit. You do want to be part of our little family, don't you?" Something about her tone prickled the hairs on my arms. I mumbled something about being happy to be there, already plotting my escape. That's when she insisted I try a special dish she had prepared herself, a creamy-looking casserole that she personally spooned onto my plate. "It's a Davenport family recipe," she said with a wink. Her gaze locked onto mine, and there was something in her smile, a tightness, a glitter of malice that made my stomach churn. I didn't want to eat it. Every instinct screamed not to. But around us, conversations had paused. Neighbors watched, forks poised halfway to mouths, waiting. Refusing would make a scene. I forced a smile, scooped a small forkful, and pretended to chew. The taste hit immediately. Metallic, bitter, wrong. My tongue went numb. My stomach twisted violently. I dropped my fork with a clatter, coughing. Cheryl's smile didn't falter. "Isn't it delicious?" she cooed. I stumbled to my feet, dizzy, vision swimming. Someone called 911. I barely remember collapsing onto the grass, retching, neighbors crowding around me in a panicked swarm. Cheryl's voice floated over the chaos, cool and unconcerned. "Probably the heat," she said lightly. "Poor boy, should have hydrated more." Paramedics arrived minutes later. They strapped me to a gurney, oxygen mask clamped over my face, IV needles jabbing into my arms. I heard one EMT mutter about possible poisoning. I tried to speak, to warn them about Cheryl, but my tongue felt glued to the roof of my mouth. The last thing I saw before they loaded me into the ambulance was Cheryl Davenport standing serenely beside her husband, clipboard tucked neatly under her arm, smiling like a woman who had just won a prize. The hospital ran tests, lots of tests. Turns out the special dish Cheryl had given me contained dangerous levels of cleaning chemicals, bleach to be specific. Traces mixed into the creamy casserole. Accidental cross-contamination was the generous theory floated at first. But after the police investigated, it became clear it wasn't an accident. Surveillance footage captured Cheryl carefully preparing a separate plate just for me. Witnesses, emboldened once they realized they weren't alone, told the cops about the long history of harassment Cheryl had directed at me and others. Suddenly, everyone had a story. Notes shoved into mailboxes, fines issued for imaginary infractions, threats whispered during committee meetings. Cheryl's reign of terror wasn't a secret. It was an open wound the neighborhood had learned to ignore. Cheryl was arrested at her home 2 days later. It took 4 officers to haul her out, screaming about conspiracies and corruption and how Willow Creek was rotting from within. Martin watched from the porch, face blank. News trucks swarmed Sycamore Lane. Overnight, Willow Creek became a punchline on late-night TV. Suburban psycho headlines blared across the internet. Memes flooded social media. Photoshopped images of Cheryl wielding casserole dishes like weapons. Videos spliced to show her screaming in slow motion. My face, pale and dazed on a stretcher, made the rounds too. For weeks, I couldn't go anywhere without someone recognizing me. Grocery store cashiers, gas station attendants, strangers at the gym, all eager to hear the story firsthand. Without Cheryl's iron fist, Willow Creek changed almost overnight. People started repainting their houses crazy colors. Kids chalked dragons and dinosaurs onto the sidewalks. Someone built a giant neon pink flamingo sculpture on their lawn. No one said it out loud, but it was obvious. We were dancing on Cheryl Davenport's grave. The HOA board dissolved within a month. Martin filed for divorce and moved to Florida. The new Community Leadership Committee operated on a volunteer basis and mostly existed to plan potlucks and movie nights. Willow Creek became what it should have been all along: messy, noisy, alive. I hosted a block party myself, serving pasta salad without any bleach, and laughed harder than I had in years. But even as we celebrated, a shadow lingered. Cheryl sent letters from jail, rambling screeds about betrayal, vengeance, purification. Someone found a dead raccoon nailed to the HOA community center door, and though no one could prove it was Cheryl, everyone knew. Late at night, I sometimes woke to the sound of a car idling outside my house. Once, I found a casserole dish smashed on my porch, shards glinting in the moonlight. Healing takes time. Fear takes longer to fade. But I stayed. Not because I wasn't afraid, I was, but because leaving would have meant Cheryl won. This was my home now, for better or worse. Sometimes when the wind is just right, I think I hear her, the soft, crisp shuffle of a clipboard, the faint metallic clink of serving utensils, the whisper of polyester slacks brushing against manicured hedges. Maybe it's just my imagination. Maybe it's just memory. Or maybe, somewhere out there, Cheryl Davenport is waiting. Waiting for another chance. Waiting to serve up another dish.